on YouTube. So I will just broadcast to everybody. See you. Maybe we need to wait a few minutes so people coming in.
Yeah. Can I?
Because they should, I don't know if they're still waiting. 9 participants.
I'll be right back.
Oh, we already 4 people. Ooh. Hi, Julie. Hi, Manon. Hi, Merve. Oh, and me. Yeah.
Everything else. All right.
So we're in a pub, right? A virtual pub.
Yeah, we'll say it's a virtual pub. Yes. Welcome. Yeah, Matthew, is that your job? Sorry. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah. So wait, can everyone see us right now? We are live.
We are live. Yeah, I will just check the stream on YouTube, see if it's on.
Okay, my other computer isn't working, so I can't really.
No, I will do. I mean, I can do it. No rush.
Hello, everyone.
How do I check that? It's our first, so please bear with us. We're trying to set up everything for your pleasure.
My family can see us. They just texted me.
Okay. But I wonder...
Yes.
Dana.
Okay, so live on YouTube is good. So can we still a few minutes? We have 18. We were supposed to have 60 people. Let me check that again. So I hope everybody has is well installed with a good seat, a good drink, and ready to learn about communication on digital concerts. So I will be the technical guy, trying to take care of everything goes smooth, while Matthew will be the host and Hilse will be our moderator for the Q&A. And we have our 2 speakers. Shall we try wait like 5:06 and then we go?
Yeah, let's give everyone a couple more minutes. And
ooh, okay, I don't hear anything now.
Started.
Wait. I don't hear you.
Can everybody smile?
Why?
Okay, everyone smile. You two on YouTube. Live at Pint of Science.
Matthew, can...
Oh,
hello.
I can things, huh? While we're waiting for everyone, I'm just going to use Twitter.
Yeah, we should have some friendly banter going. Start up the tweeting. You can tag me. I'll retweet. I'll try.
Okay, can you hear me back?
Absolutely, Thibaut.
Sorry, that's yeah, if you don't know who we are. Okay, 2 minutes. We have 19 attendees. So for the attendee, you can interact with us through the chat, or there's as well a Q&A if you want. So then when you can ask the question that you wonder, and then for after. And then you can, when you receive the question popping up from the different attendees as well, so and you can upvote the one that you like and the one you want to be asked.
Yeah, okay.
And you can raise your hand as well. That is neat as well, so it's perfect. 19. Okay.
Yeah, this is our first time running Pint of Science virtually, so bear with us while we figure it out.
Yeah.
Actually, I have
Make sure you got a comfortable seat, got a beverage of choice.
Okay.
All right.
It's 5, so I think we can go.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Hello. Welcome to the virtual Pint of Science Norway 2020. Thank you for joining us on this, the 191st day of March. I'm Matthew Davidson, former cyborg researcher, current science writer, and I will be your host tonight. This is a night of many firsts. This is the first Pint of Science Norway. This is the first Pint of Science to be happening during a pandemic. And this is the first virtual Pint of Science, and we have people from all over the world. So it's really exciting to be able to bring you science communication and exciting science news wherever you are, instead of be having to come to us. It would be great to have this in a bar like we normally do, but being able to do it online with all of you wonderful people is really nice as well. And as we get started, I'm going to start by apologizing for not having captions. We do not have the budget for it this year, but we will be including transcripts when we upload this later. And hopefully next year we will be able to do live captioning. Joining me tonight are Ilse, who's going to be doing tech and questions and moderating all of the questions that come up during the presentations, and Thibault, who is the president of Pint of Science. And he will talk to you about a little bit about the history of Pint of Science and where it came from and why we're talking to you.
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Matthew. So hi, everybody. So yeah, as Matthew mentioned, I'm the founder and director of the Pint of Science Norway. And before we jump into it, I would just give you a brief introduction of what it is, on the concept behind it, and what it is for you in Norway. So just let me share my screen. So I have a few slides for you. And we go. So this picture can resume a bit what is a good Pint of Science. So Pint of Science is worldwide. As we can see, we have like 29 countries that are represented, and the role is to be in bars and cafes and to bring researchers there to engage science exchange with you. And nothing would be actually happening without the volunteer, which like in every country, and you see that they are the main part of Pint of Science. And they are all, we have, I will present where we are in Norway. And this is Barney that you can see as well here. This is a bit the mascot on the logo, and it has been derivative in every different as well version, different national. You can see here we have the Norwegian, and we have a lot of. So Pint of Science born in UK 2013, and since that means they're growing like crazy. So we have an exponential growth of cities, and we have present in every continent. On the more density is true that is in Europe and as well Brazil, that I will show you a bit later. So we hope to be like in every country in some years, and for Norway in every cities. So the concept behind is like, as mentioned, it's like you want to organize like exchange of science in different place where people can relax. So it can be bar, pub, cafe, public place, whatever you think you are comfortable and relax. And then we bring speakers. The speakers are here to engage. They can do a performance stage. They can do experiment. They can just share a piece of story with you, a piece of experiment, whatever, that way you can learn something and that you get engaged with them. So we cover different areas. So our event, we have the beautiful mind. We have as well planet Earth, or it can be subject about the society, our body. We have as well take me out, we call, and as well the atom from galaxy. So that is the event that we have for our annual events. And from time to time, we can have some special events that can pop up along the year. So nothing could be actually possible without all the work of the volunteer that closer or longer have been involved in Pint of Science. So you can see Matthew with his beautiful hat, where Ilse, which like in a brewery, I have to crop the image to put everybody all together. And we have more and more. I've already in communication with several other volunteers. So I will need several slides actually to put them in. So if you want to be part of it, or if you know someone, you can go onto our website and sign up for next year. So normally in bars as well, we want to engage with the audience with some a bit of some games. So it can be some quiz or some small experiments. Unfortunately, it's more difficult with the online version. So we have to do as we have to deal with the situation, unfortunately. And of course, we are as well, the concept is that we are in the suppose and multiple countries. So right now in 11 countries, there's other people online watching Zoom over platform, some scientists and researchers presenting their work. And so in 2019, you see that, yeah, the most dense was like in Brazil and in Europe. And really, it was like major as France and UK and Spain were the most active because I mean as is born in UK and the international coordinator is French as well, Elodie Chabrol. And this year, actually, Norway was like among the 6 new countries because we are born last October. So we have not less 1 year and we're already like, we see that we're growing and we're learning as well along the way. So this was what was supposed for this year, 29 countries altogether in May, but due to COVID, we had to delay until September, and most of us has to cancel. So this is, so it was 12 countries that will be organizing some online events. So if you want to check their program, you can just go to the website, pintofscience.com, and see as well what they are offering. Because UK, we have some talk until Friday, while for Norway, we have until through Wednesday. And of course, all this work without be possible without all our sponsors and collaborators. For instance, was due to COVID, we were supposed to be in bars, but we couldn't. So I would like to throw a big thanks to the Café Amsterdam in Oslo, the Habitat Craft Bar in Trondheim, and the Dunes in Bergen. And I hope that next year we can actually work together. And I need as well to present Simula, which is a research center. So Simula carries out some research within the information and the communication technology. And then they apply that research in both for the industry and the public challenges. And for instance, they have been involved in the modeling of the heart to understand how it works, and as well how to stabilize the communication network. We had as well the help from Dion, which is actually the interest organization for doctoral candidate at NTNU in Trondheim. And with them is Dion as well is a contact point where PhDs and postdoc as the University of Trondheim and TNU. And they offer social event as well as advice when people have problem. And one of our first help on collaborators was the, I will try Norwegian, so Academy for Yngre Forskere. So the Young Academy of Norway is the interdisciplinary organization that for young researchers dedicated to research policy and dissemination. And it's consists of talented junior researchers from all the disciplines with a demonstrated commitment to science policy and innovation research dissemination. They have been our longest partner and we thank for them. So thank you all. Thanks to all the volunteers. And I just wish enjoy the festival and your beer or wine. Back to you, Matthew.
Thank you so much for that introduction and explainer. So that gives you a sense of what we're trying to do here. The main goal here is that, you know, science is great. Science develops wonderful new things for the world, but it's not super helpful unless we can actually share with people. Sharing with people who want to learn about science, people who are not aware of science, people who might want to be scientists. And so that's what we're here for. And we have two wonderful speakers. We have Gabriela Sirbo, who's going to talk to us about communication, and Dana Swarbrick, who's going to talk about virtual concerts. So the format for tonight is each of our speakers are going to give about a 20-minute talk, and then we're going to have about 10 minutes afterwards for questions from the audience. And throughout the talks, you in the audience can comment in the chat and ask those questions. And we're going to go through, and Ilse is going to monitor those. And we're going to pick a couple of questions for afterwards, and then you'll get to actually ask them. and have a little bit of a discussion with each of the speakers. In between each speaker, we're going to have a 10-minute break. And then at the end, we are going to, I'll make a couple of comments and give the contact information if you have other questions, and give some thanks to everyone for coming. So I'm going to stop talking and introduce our first speaker, Gabriela Sirbu. She is a therapist specializing in helping others overcome issues with cultural adaptation in Tromsø. She's a former journalist and holds a master's degree from Arctic University of Norway as a peace mediator. And tonight she's going to talk to us about communicating with our human experience no matter where we come from.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Matthew. That was a nice presentation. I'm going to share my screen, and let's see which screen, this screen. So, how do you see it?
Yeah, we see it fine.
Go slideshow, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, what have I done? From the beginning. Yeah.
There you go.
You're... What am I doing here? Yeah, anyway.
Can't you exchange the two screens in the display setting, for instance? On the top, actually, yeah, if you want to see the full screen.
Display settings?
Yeah, see if you can exchange with the presentation. Yeah, we're learning along the way.
Sorry, this is what happens when we start a new program.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, take it away.
Let's roll.
Okay. So I am going to speak about communication in a pint, if I manage. Yeah. And that I'm going to speak about what we are communicating. And since we are humans and we are communicating with this experience first, we are communicating our 6 human needs. Some of you might have heard about the pyramid of Maslow. So this 6 human needs are influenced by that. So the first need would be the need of security. We communicate our primary needs, physiological, air, water, food, sleep, heat, shelter, protection. We need to survive, we need comfort, we need to avoid pain. That is the most primary need of all. The next need would be the need of uncertainty. We all need to have fun. We need to jump parachutes. We need to do bungee jumping. We need to have a beer. We need to speak with friends. We need to avoid boredom. The third need would be the need to feel important. We need attention. We need to be special. We need to feel unique and wanted. We need to be motivated, to be supported, and to matter for something or someone. Some people are feeling this need at work through their jobs. Other people are important at home with family and kids. Other people are important by being having high positions in companies or in society, in politics. So we feel these needs in different way. The fourth need would be the need of belonging. We need love, we need connection with family and friends, or a group of people with common interest and organization. We need to know that we are not alone. What is happening is that as soon as we get this need fulfilled and we know that we are not alone and we have support, we suddenly jump to the need from before, which is to feel important and unique. And it's very funny that this is happening. As soon as we are accepted someplace, we want to go away from there and be different. The fifth need would be the need of evolution and growth. The need of feeling that we make progress in whatever we are doing in different areas of our lives. We need to feel that we are not stagnating, but that we grow and we develop skills, habits, and friendships. Pint of Science is growing now through everything we do this evening. The next need would be the need of contribution. In Maslow's pyramid, this need does not show up because Maslow has discovered it very late in his research, and he didn't have the chance to promote it just as well as the other five. And we need to contribute with something. We need to share with our fellows what we have, material things or money. We also have emotions that we can share: empathy, compassion, love, joy, good and positive words. Sometimes we share less positive feelings like envy and hatred and anger, but we share what we have. Those feelings need to be shared as well. And we also share what we know. We have knowledge, information, experiences like tonight. So this is a very good example of sharing knowledge. And recent research showed that we have a seventh need, which Maslow had no idea about it, and it'd be this one. We all need Wi-Fi these days. It is pretty much impossible to live without it, without being connected to this huge internet network. So perhaps we can deal with it without it for a couple of hours, but not more. So these are the seven needs that are inspired by Abraham Maslow, and they have some spices from Tony Robbins and myself. And each and every one of us, that if we are looking good into the mirror at ourselves, we all need this. What is happening that if one thing is meeting three of these needs, we become dependent on that particular thing. For instance, in our days, most of us are dependent on our jobs, because our jobs, because we get paid, we have felt the need of security. Things happened every day at work, so then we have the need of uncertainty field. If we have a good position and we are doing something special, we feel important. We have colleagues and we have the need of belonging felt. And of course, if we learn something on the way and if we are growing together with our tasks and our company, we also have the need of evolution met, and the need of contribution, because we are not working for nothing, we're producing something, and that is given back to the society. And hopefully everybody has Wi-Fi at work. So actually we're pretty dependent on our jobs these days. So these are our needs, and how do we communicate them? We communicate them through 5 elements of communication. And one of the first one would be the rational communication. The rational communication are our words, are all the things that are answering to the question, what? What is happening? And then we say with words whatever we need to say. The next element would be the emotional communication, how we say whatever we are saying. We are saying it with an intonation usually. We all have a particular way of saying things. For instance, Thibaut is speaking with a French accent. So that that categorizes him. Matthew speaks with a very American accent, and that transmits something to us. We know where to place him, to place them roughly. And I like to speak about this iceberg. Since I live in the north of Norway, I became pretty fond of icebergs. And I like this Anger icebergs from the Gottman Institute in the States because it shows very well how we can communicate with anger. When we don't understand something or we are not familiar with something, anger is the first feeling that is coming up. And we are very rare aware of the fact that this anger is showing something else. Either we feel embarrassed or scared or overwhelmed or nervous or exhausted. So, but our tendency is to be irritated over things, and then this anger is coming up. So this is how we communicate whatever we are saying rationally. The next element would be the relational communication. This answers to the question who is talking to who, and which is the relationship between those two people. Are husband and wife, children among them, parents with children, boss and employee, colleagues at work, or neighbors. So the relationship between the two people that are talking is very important always. And it is going to have a stamp on the way we communicate with each other. The fourth element is the situation, the situational communication. When and where is happening what is happening. Thibaut had a very nice presentation earlier about where Pint of Science were supposed to happen this year and how many in pubs and around the world. It didn't, but now it's happening online. So we are here now on a virtual pub. So where and when and where has also something to say about how we communicate. It would be much more fun to actually see you, every one of you, than to see you on the screen. Okay, and on my list, I have a fifth element, which is the cultural background. Where from? We will always going to speak with our background from the country, town, community, neighborhood, house, family, with the role models. All these things are going to have a very big influence in the way we are communicating with. And the first four elements are changing accordingly to the culture we are coming from. Some cultures are different than others, and I think everybody can agree with me. We all live in a global world today. And all these elements of communication are influencing us. These questions actually are the first questions that young journalists are learning when they are starting to write. If you read the newspapers or watch news, and you are paying attention to it, you'll find that each news has answers to all these questions, or most of them. So this is from a journalist point of view. In the same way, we can use these questions in everything we write, in everything we say, in everything we are presenting. That if we have covered all these elements, then we give a full perspective over the fact. And of course, as you see in this picture, we are always going to see the world with our background. And Mr. Reno is a very good example for that, because no matter where he is, at the seaside, in the countryside, or in the desert, his nose is going to be there. And we are all pretty much like that. Let's see what we have next. Now, if we are going to put all these elements, our needs and these elements of communication into another model of personal communication, we can go. I have found the model of Dr. Albert Mahrebian, who is showing us that each person and each individual is communicating like this. 7% are words, unspoken words, and conscious communication. 38% is voice and intonation, and 55% is body language. Of course, all this depends on the context. Context is extremely important. For instance, now when we are online, you are not going to see my body language or anyone else, but you're going to see my face, my expressions, and you're going to hear my tone of voice. I'm always nervous, so that may show in my voice, and it varies. So now the tone of voice and the rational communication, it is going to be a bigger percentage in this picture than the body language. If I would have been on a stage or on a pub, my body language also would have had a bigger influence. So for people who are who like formulas, I have made a formula for good communication, and it shows like that what and words plus how, the emotions, to whom, the relationship, when and where, the situation, and plus the personality, which is coming from our background, it is going to create reactions in our audience, and it is going to have consequences. It is not. It may look simple, but we all know that in practice is not that simple, this formula. But it's a picture of it, and accordingly to how good we are in putting all these things together, our communication is going to look like this. So what we think, it's very different from what we can put into words, what we actually are saying, and what people understand. So people may understand a little bit, and then we are happy. At least they get an idea about what we are saying, or they may not understand anything. And that is not always interesting to do. And the reason that is happening, that this thing is very difficult, that people not always understand everything, is because we don't always manage to communicate our context very well. For instance, these two guys, they look angry and they argue, but they both right, or they're both wrong. But because they do not take the patience to explain to each other the context, and to eventually experience each other's context, it is going to be a fight. And we see that every day in our daily life, that people do not get along because they do not manage to put into words whatever they need to communicate and the background. So the conclusion would be that we are 7 billion humans in the world, and there are going to be 7 billion different ways of seeing the world. So roughly, over a pint, the conclusion is that it's difficult to communicate, even though we may have some rules to guide us around. Thank you. That was me. And I used exactly 20 minutes.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So we are collecting some questions, and Ilse is going to manage that. But I wanted to ask, while that's being organized, I wanted to ask about how the internet has changed this communication, because obviously you don't get the body language, you don't get the facial expressions, but people have developed a very rich way of expressing those emotions just in text. So how does that change this equation?
It changes this equation because on one side, it's very good that people manage to create connections all over the world. The time and space disappears, which is great. The world has become suddenly smaller. Yet the physical contact can be missed. And it may be possible that if someone is an introvert and is happy with the connections one gets through the internet, it's in danger of being isolated in the community that he or she may live. So if I am happy here with talking to you and do not have and fail to maintain all the relationships I have around me, that might not be a very good idea. So this is a way that internet influences us today. And unfortunately, there are many people who are becoming isolated more and more.
I see. Thanks. Well, so Ilse, do we have some questions from the audience?
Yeah, we got one question from Jaume asking about if using emojis like the emoticons on, for example, email or WhatsApp or other platforms, are they a good way to express the how in a verbal or the what situation in, for example, an email? And would it be good to increase or decrease its use? Would it have advantages, disadvantages to use those things?
I think it depends on the relation people have when they use this kind of emojis. Because, for instance, I have a younger niece that is using a lot this kind of emojis. I don't always understand what she means by them because I don't know the meaning of all of them, not to talk about her mother. So it depends very much on the relationships we have. If we are friends about the same age and we know the meaning of it, we know the context, then it's okay. But if we are talking with people who don't really have any idea about this, then it may fail. So then perhaps it will be a good idea to actually develop a vocabulary in order to express feelings.
Okay. I don't know if there are any other questions. Feel free to, in the meanwhile, still type them. If they won't be answered during the presentation, they can always be answered afterwards. I actually did have a question of my own because I was kind of wondering if trying to understand where people are coming from. So for example, if I get an email or a message and I try to assume or interpret someone's situation or cultural background because I know where they're from, would that be a positive or a negative? Because sometimes it can help you understand a situation and sometimes I think it can actually make you misinterpret it.
Yeah, that is true. A good way of avoiding misunderstandings is to check the facts with the other person. You can, for instance, either talk on the phone or write in the email. From what you have written to me or said to me, I understand this and this and this and this. And I know a little bit about this and this. Is it right? And the other person can answer if you understood well or not. So it is always a good idea to check the facts politely.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. In the meanwhile, we got a question from Daniel about how long the COVID situation will impact our communication with others.
I think the COVID has already impacted a lot our communication with others because I don't think the world is going to be the same again. I like to say, since we are over a beer, I like to say that this COVID have given us a kick in our butts in order to use the internet much more and the solutions, the technical solutions we have. And I think that people are going to keep using them as much as they can because it saves money, it saves effort, it saves time. So instead of traveling 2 hours by plane to Oslo to a meeting or to a seminar, that can very well be done online. And many people are going to prefer their own comfort instead of actually traveling. And another way that it is going to influence it's because it makes the world smaller. The collaborations between people all around the world is going to be much easier than it used to be.
All right, thanks.
Actually, I have following that. I mean, I have a question because you just mentioned like 55% is of the communication is body language.
58.
So, yeah, sorry, yeah, so 58. So how will just using video, won't that like will decrease the quality of communication by 58%?
No, because I have also said that it depends on the context. For instance, now I cannot see you or your body language, but I see you from up here. So I see the expressions of your face, I see your eyes moving. And if you're also going to move your hands, I'm going to feel much safer because there is research that says that when people cannot see your hands, they may feel unsafe. But if we learn how to use our hands when we are talking on the screen and we are keeping our hands up here, the body language, it is going to be maybe not 58%, but just as big.
Okay.
Yeah, so those were all the questions that were asked so far.
We just got one more in the chat.
Oh, sorry, missed that one. So Anna is wondering if you would think in the context of COVID-19 about the cultural background, does it still matter today in this global world where you're from, or the assumptions that come with it usually?
Yeah, absolutely, because we cannot leave behind what we have learned at home. And we cannot, for instance, I'm going to give you a funny example. When I did my master's, we had a colleague from Bangladesh, and he would speak English, translating directly from Bengali. And every time he would meet someone, he would shake the hand and he would say, "It gives me pleasure to meet you." And he would say that over and over again, and we would laugh, and he wouldn't know what he said, because in his background, this was perfectly okay and polite formula, until someone in the group took him aside and explained him that, maybe you should use the English way of saying that it's nice to meet you. So this kind of cultural misunderstanding there are always going to be, because when we don't speak our native language and we have to speak a second, the third, and the fourth language, we are going always to carry with us our cultural background. The fact that we speak with an accent that goes through the screen, and you can hear that I have an accent. I can hear that Thibaut has an accent. So that is culture. So
Yeah, and then I think the last question for now. So Dana was wondering, what do you think about research suggesting that processing social cues is harder or more fatiguing in a Zoom conference?
yeah, that may be true. It depends on how fun all the process is made.
Actually, so I think that what the Zoom fatigue was when you have a delay, I think it was 0.2 seconds between the voice and the movement, then you get a confusion in the brain, and then that creates a fatigue.
Yeah.
And there was also I had read an article that had suggested that actually it's when there's this big panel of people on the screen that you have so many faces you have to process simultaneously. It becomes, you actually kind of disengage and just stop processing. And I notice when I'm speaking in a Zoom conference, I often just look away and I don't actually look at the faces because it's just so much information and I find it overwhelming. So do you know, because you mentioned that like seeing hands might be important, but perhaps it's actually that people who are communicating over the internet just aren't actually even able to process the communication information coming.
That is true. That is true, because the we as human beings, we do not manage to keep up with the technology. And some of parts of our brains are still in the Stone Age, and other parts are in the Middle Ages. And it is difficult to process all this information. For instance, a trick that I use when I speak in Zoom meetings or Teams meetings is to pick a face, pick one and focus on that one. And then it's much easier for me to ignore all the others and speak to one person. But yes, you are right, and it is tiring. In the same time, the world is going forward, either we like it or not, or if we are in the Middle Age or in the Stone Age. The world never really cared about us and how do we deal with this.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your presentation. We're going to take a 10-minute break and we'll come back with Dana's talk. While we are on break, feel free to ask more questions, to ask questions of each other. One thing that'd be really fun is if you would introduce, if all of our audience would introduce themselves and why they're interested, or if they're doing some cool science stuff as well, because we will be looking for speakers for next year and other events. So we're going to take 10 minutes and we'll be back with our next presenter.
Well, Matthew, you're in mute. No, you're in mute.
Now I'm unmuted. As I say, this is a great time to get yourself another drink, another snack, more comfortable pajamas, whatever it is you need. I don't know what time it is in whatever part of the world you are in, but we'll be back shortly and, you know, talk amongst yourselves.
Hello.
Yes. Is that 10 minutes already? Let's call Matthew.
I
Matt?
don't think so. I was just getting a request to unmute because Matt and I just had an idea. Maybe. Matt, you want to tell
Well,
us what's up?
we had planned a 10-minute break so everyone could go get snacks and stuff, and realized that 10 minutes of not talking on the internet is a little weird. So Dana offered to play us a little music for a few minutes until people get back, and then we will start with her talk.
So I'll need your help though, Matt, because I'm gonna get my guitar. I'm gonna set the levels,
Huh?
but I just want to make sure that you can hear it.
Yeah, do you know you can set up this original sound in Zoom?
Yeah,
No,
I'm
that's
using it.
one of the
I'm using my
drawbacks
original sound.
of doing this for the first time.
And I have my audio interface plugged in, so that's why I've got the microphone, and my guitar is actually going to go direct into the computer.
Thanks. Benefits of getting a musician to present.
And yeah, we had talked about doing something fun, Thibaut. Sorry that it's a little late. Are you guys hearing the guitar?
Is it country music?
Are you going to tell me not to play if it is?
No.
Sorry, can you hear the guitar at all?
Yeah, we
Or is
can.
it too quiet?
No, it's same
And how
level, I
does
would
it
say.
sound at the level of my voice? Check. Okay. Matt, what do you want to hear? You're muted, Matt. Sorry, you were muted when you said what you wanted to hear.
Something that'll introduce your talk, maybe?
Well, I think that no matter what I play,
Space
it'll be an intro
Can!
to Space
Space
Can?
Can?
What the... No, it's like when you're stuck here. Oh, I forgot the name of the song.
Space Odyssey?
Yes, like you...
I don't know it.
Oh, I mean,
I'll
if...
play
Okay,
an original.
Yeah, if
But,
I...
I think I'll play an original. I'll just do, sorry.
Bet you all didn't know that when you signed up for a science program, you were going to get a bonus original song, live music.
Yeah, that was it. This is it, the tuning song. Dana's tuning song. Okay. Or, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Have to figure out which song. Maybe. Yeah, this one I think will be good. I don't know if I remember everything though. It's called Melt Into Me. How's the guitar level now?
It's good, actually.
Okay, perfect. Melt. Oh, let me just do this actually. Perfect. Check. Oh. Yeah. Melt into me, push the embers into ice. Warm my cold body only. Passion will suffice. I'll chill your burning desire. Be darkness to your light. Melt into me. Let your day meet my night. Way, oh, way, oh, way, oh,
live out your fantasies. My heart awaits your hand. You have taken me over, stolen my heart and mind. Do what you please with my love, please be kind. Away, oh, away, oh, where, oh, where, oh, 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 hey, oh, way, oh, where, oh, where, oh. I beg for some kind of warning, some kind of sign, when you no longer want to hold me with my love. Please be kind. I'll pack up, look, I'll back up, move out, and I will look for another. No luck, I laugh to myself, I will laugh. You were my wonder. Oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, oh, hey, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, melt into me. Do what you please. Oh, baby, please melt into me. Whoa, whoa, do what you please.
Thank you so much. I don't know what else I can, I don't think I can beat that introduction for yourself. But this is Dana. She's our next speaker.
Hi, give me 1 second.
Yes. I'll just introduce you real quick while you get set up. So Dana is a PhD candidate at Ritmo at the University of Oslo. She makes music to keep the monsters happy. And tonight she's going to talk about how musicians have adapted to the pandemic and how virtual concerts can keep us together.
All right. Can somebody confirm you can see my screen?
Yep.
Awesome. Perfect. All right. Yes. Thank you so much for that.
It's
Oh,
a bit pixelized. How do you say that?
pixelated.
Yeah, thanks. On the stream, but we can read it if just to tell you. So
Oh, that's too bad. Maybe I can. Oh, you know what it is? I know why. It's because I optimized it for video sharing, so I can unoptimize that.
yeah,
Which
because
this
that
should
is
get it. Is this better now?
Yeah,
1
definitely
second.
better, way better. Yeah, perfect.
Okay, yeah, there's a trade-off. So I'll leave it off. But yes, thank you. Welcome to my talk. I've just am beginning the data analysis on this new project called Quarantine Concerts. So for those of you who might not remember the beginning of March here in Europe and in North America, it was the best of times and it was the worst of times. It was the worst of times because on March 11th, Norway closed. And March 12th, my Auntie Anne still thought that she was coming to Norway for Easter. But March 17th, Toronto closed as well. And so she learned just how severe this global pandemic really is. But it was also the best of times because on March 11th, Cardi B posted a rant. And on March 14th, iMarquise posted this remix. I'm just going to play a little excerpt for you. Maybe here. And then on March 17th, DJ Snake posted this remix in France.
Donc on va sampler cette vidéo de Cardi.
Guess what, bitch? Coronavirus!
Donc j'ai isolé le rire de
Which
Cardi.
means he isolated her laugh.
Here we go.
Coronavirus! 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 Guess what, bitch?
So some truly quality media came out of the coronavirus pandemic, and it's still being produced. But when at the beginning, I think it was March 17th, actually, when I was looking at the news in Toronto and seeing things blowing up, one of my favorite performers of all time, Dan Mangan,
Yeah, we're
was
having a little
performing.
bit of an issue.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You need to share the computer sound. People aren't hearing the sound.
You didn't hear it. Oh my God. I did though. It says shared computer sound.
Yeah, I did hear the
I
video.
heard it, but we're on Zoom together.
Yeah.
So that is a YouTube issue.
No, maybe. All right, we'll keep going.
That's so sad.
Oh, we're getting
that
some
is
people who
so
said
the
it.
chat.
Apparently it's just my sister who's having trouble.
Thank
Sorry,
goodness. That would be super awkward if I was dancing like that and no one was hearing it on YouTube.
On
Boy.
Zoom, it seems to be okay.
Awesome. Okay. Sorry. Thank you, though. I'm glad you interrupted because it would have been bad if nobody had heard it. So glad to hear people have heard it. So as I was saying, it was March 17th and Dan Mangan was playing this show to no one in the Danforth, which is this awesome music venue in Toronto. And I was reading the comments and noticed that people were saying things that I was feeling. Take a look at this one. This person said, "This made my heart so full. Thank you so much for sharing this. I had a wee little cry there at the end because I realized we were all sitting here watching the same thing alone but together. Love, love, love." So this had me thinking, can audiences really feel connected to the performer and each other in this virtual environment? What is the importance of liveness in a virtual concert? So live streamed versus a pre-recorded concert. And is there a relation between social connection and kamamuta? Now, kamamuta is the feeling of being moved. And so is there a relation between this kamamuta and social connection in virtual concerts? And I hypothesized that audiences can in fact be connected to the performer and each other virtually, that live-streamed virtual concerts will promote more social connection and this feeling of being moved, or kamamuta, than pre-recorded concerts, and that social connection and kamamuta will actually be related to each other in the context of virtual concerts, which is what is the literature outside of the context of virtual concerts supports. So I recruited participants who had watched at least 15 minutes of a concert video, and they filled out a survey where they answered questions on their demographics, musical background, and their trade empathy. They reported what the concert characteristics were and their appraisal of the concert, and also on some emotional and social outcomes and their motivations for going to the concert. And recruitment took place from May 3rd to July 15th. And this date range varied across countries, or it was promoted in different date ranges across different countries. And we also used or involved industry partners and artist partners in recruitment. And we also paid for some social media advertising. And I'll also show you how our different recruitment strategies fared when recruiting participants. For the analysis, we translated the non-English responses to English. So we had a Norwegian, a German, and a Spanish version of the survey as well. And social connection was operationalized as a combination of social variables, and kamamuta, or the feeling of being moved, was operationalized, which means defined as the average of the short kamamuta scale. And I've used some regression analyses, or some tests, to assess whether liveness affected social connection and kamamuta. So the results that we have are that 661 participants clicked the link and consented to participate, But 124 people had not watched at least 15 minutes, so they were excluded. 30 were less than 18 years old, so they were also excluded because they could not legally consent to participate. And there were 3 nonsense responses of just garbled words. 154 people filled less than 25% of the survey, which leaves our final sample size at 351, with 50 people having completed between a quarter and 98%, and actually 300 people completed 99 to 100%, which is awesome. And I'm super happy about this. People participated from all over the Americas, Europe, and Asia as well. Most of our sample is from Chile, with 241 people from there. In these maps, the darker the color, the more people participated. So Norway comes in second place with 74 people, Canada with 22, and so on. And here's the gender and age distribution. This is a histogram. So the y-axis shows the count, or the number of people who responded in each category, shown along the x-axis. We see that more people who are younger participated, which is to be expected in an online study. And it's approximately equal sex distributions, or gender distributions, sorry. There were a number of musicians that participated, and it was almost equal musicians as non-musicians. And this is showing empathic concern. So participants' reports of how much state empathy they have, or their empathic tendencies. And this shows also their behavior around concert attendance. So the first top graph here shows concerts BC, or before Corona. And this is the live concerts people attended. So people on average attended most likely less than once a month before coronavirus. But DC, during coronavirus, people attended more video concerts and live streams than they were attending real concerts before coronavirus. So there's a trend towards increased activity watching concerts. And so our results, there's this again a summary on the coronavirus salience and loneliness across our participants. This first graph here on the left shows answers to the question, how salient is coronavirus, where you are right now to you? Majority of people said that it wasn't salient at all, but there's actually a number of responses that it was very salient. And I believe we were recruiting in Chile around the time that it was super bad, and with a collaborator there. So she was saying that it was severe when we were recruiting in Chile. And these other boxes are showing the answers to how people reported they were feeling loneliness, lack of companionship, isolated, and anxiety. And you can see that most people are average on these scales, but they're reporting some loneliness, some lack of compassion, isolation, anxiety. Looking at some of the concert characteristics, where did the concerts take place? I remember feeling when I was watching concerts that were taking place at home that maybe that makes you more connected to the performer. And we see that most people are actually seeing concerts in concert halls, or videos from concert halls, and then second most from home, or in homes. People were generally fans of the performer, and they found the performer's music important generally. And if we look at audio and video quality, people are reporting that their audio and video quality was generally really good. And most people listened on built-in speakers, and they watched on either their phone screen or their laptop screen, sometimes on a big TV screen. I'm going to show you some box plots next, and these can be a little confusing for those of you that haven't seen these before. I want to point out that the middle line is the median, which is the very middle of the data set. And each of these boxes are the top quartile, so 25% of the data lies in this group. And then the bottom quartile, 25% of the data lies in this lower square or rectangle. And any dots you see outside are outliers. So I'm going to show you some box plots of the variables that we believe contribute to overall social connection. And I'm doing this because I want to ask, can audiences be connected to the performer and each other virtually? I've grouped the variables into variables of feelings. So this first one on the left is connection to performers. Did you feel connected to the performer? The middle one, did you feel connected to the other audience members? And the third one is, did you feel that you shared emotions with other audience members? These middle variables are variables representing social presence. Did you feel like you were in the presence of others during the virtual concert? Did you feel that others were aware of your presence during the virtual concert? And these variables here are variables that are behaviors. Did you speak about the concert with anyone? Did you read comments, or how many comments did you read? Did you comment yourself on the video? And did you share the concert either on social media or with friends and family? So these are showing you the median of the average measure in all of these variables. So these variables were all combined and averaged to create an overall variable of social connection. And that's what you see here along the y-axis, overall social connection. So each of these is all of those variables averaged together and across, whether it was a live stream concert watched in real time, a live stream concert that was actually watched after it had already aired, or a pre-recorded concert. And using the regression analysis I mentioned before, I found that there was a significant difference, that the overall social connection was significantly higher during a live stream concert than it was while viewing a live stream concert after it was aired, or than a pre-recorded concert. So this is just what I hypothesized. And again, if we look at across all of the variables that make up this overall social connection, we can kind of see which variables it is contributing to this effect. So people who were in live streamed real concerts, they were reading more comments and they commented more frequently. They're more likely to share the concert, it looks like, and they also spoke about the concert more frequently. And you can see that there's more of a spread also in the connection to performers here. And now, moving on to our variable of kamamuta. So remember, kamamuta is that feeling of being moved or feeling touched. And the way in which we measure it is based on people in the Kamamuta lab here at the University of Oslo actually developed a scale. And all of these are variables in the scale. So did you feel like you had tears or chills, a warm chest, choked up? Were you refreshed and energized? Did you feel welcomed? Did you have a sense of closeness come over you? Did you want to tell somebody you cared about them? Did you want to hug someone? Did you have positive feelings, and were you moved or touched? And here are the responses to the number of people who answered each of these numbers on the scale to each of these variables. And so we can see that people were not feeling tears and occasionally feeling chills, and not feeling choked up at all. But people did feel refreshed and energized, a warm feeling in their chest, welcome, and definitely positive feelings and moved and touched. So how does liveness affect kamamuta? This is a box plot showing the average kamamuta, so all of those variables I just showed you averaged across the 3 different concert types. And we saw no differences. So kamamuta is not being influenced by concert type. However, are social connection and kamamuta related? And it absolutely does seem to be the case. The social connection, or overall social connection, actually explains 35% of the variance of kamamuta. So even though concert type isn't affecting kamamuta, social connection and kamamuta are very intertwined. In conclusion, my hypotheses were audiences can be connected to the performer and each other virtually, that live streamed virtual concerts will promote more social connection and kamamuta than pre-recorded concerts, and that social connection and kamamuta will be related in the context of virtual concerts. Well, what did I find? The results were that audiences are connected strongly to the performer and moderately to each other virtually. That live-streamed virtual concerts promoted more social connection, but not kamamuta than pre-recorded concerts. And social connection and kamamuta are related in the context of virtual concerts. Now, I want to show you also how effective were the recruitment methods. So we had 2 industry partners, Brakke Sikke here in Norway and Tree of Stars back home in Canada, and 5 artist partners. Alex Worms is from Canada, Saharave is from the UK, Liva and Signe Dø are based here in Norway, and Freddy Chavez and Elizabeth Mendieta are based in Chile. So one of our industry partners recruited 5 participants, and 3 of the artist partners recruited 7. So it wasn't super effective collaboration, but I do hope that we can continue to try to collaborate with industry partners to help reach greater audiences. The InSync Lab actually formed officially on social media because of this project, because we wanted to promote the concert through social media. And so we have a Facebook page and an Instagram page, and we actually paid for these advertising on social media. And I want to show you guys the results of the advertising so that future researchers can also figure out how they want to promote. So with Facebook paid advertising, with the recruiting or targeting people with interest in music and concerts, by country, we paid a certain amount that you can see here. And then based on this amount, Facebook actually reports that they reached this number of people. But this actually resulted in these number of clicks. And if we look at how many people were recruited per each of these countries, then we can get an idea of how effective these each were. So it seems like for Chile, this was a very effective ad. And by participating in the study, they were entered into a draw to win a 200 kroner gift card, which would be 20 US dollars or 25 Canadian dollars. But in other countries, it wasn't very effective. Like in India, we had a huge reach and many clicks, but there weren't as many participants. And so it's interesting to think about why that might be the case. Thank you for listening. I want to give a huge thank you to my lab. You can follow us on Facebook at InSync Lab or on Instagram at InSync Lab. Yona Voskoski is my supervisor, and she does a lot of awesome research as well. Melvin's a wonderful research assistant and just finished and defended his master's. And Sandra Ladigas has moved on from the lab, but she was instrumental in all of the German translations for this study. I would like to give a huge thank you to the Kamamuta Lab, who have provided feedback on the survey, and Beata, who's a co-author, as well as Noemi Grinspun, who did all of the Spanish translations and has been instrumental in helping us reach people in Chile. Thank you so much to my colleagues at Ritmo, who also provided feedback on the survey and gave amazing advice. Thank you to Pint of Science. You guys should definitely go follow them on social media because they're super fun. And if you want to connect with me, here are my social media links. And if you want to learn more about the study, there will be more results posted very soon at this link, ueo.no/ritmo/quarantine concerts. And this study, you can expect it to be published around December, January 2021. I plan to do more analyses looking at even more other different concert characteristics other than liveness, such as the concert setting or the familiarity with the artist that might influence how people feel connected. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. That was really cool. I know we're all kind of missing our concerts and trying to figure out how to connect to them. So it's really cool that you're looking at what it really means to do an online concert. Ilsa's going to look at some of the questions, but while she's looking at that, I was wondering, well, first I want to say, like, I really appreciate you kind of showing us like a little bit behind the scenes of science, like the, like how you recruit people and how you do that analysis, because it's something you don't really see very much. You don't really get to see a lot when you see papers, or especially like in popular science. So that was really cool. And are you still looking for people to take part in this study or in other studies?
Not in this study. There will be more coming out of our lab, so you should definitely follow us because, like, on social media, because that's where we'll be posting information. Unfortunately, the recruitment for this study is currently over because I'm now digging into the data. And I'm also talking about it. So if I were to recruit anybody, they would have to not have heard of the results already, which it's possible that would be okay. But if they'd heard this talk and then wanted to go participate, then I would be completely leading them on and making them think that maybe they're feeling connection when they're not.
Okay, but if they follow you or your lab, they can they'll find out about other concerts.
About other studies.
Okay,
absolutely.
other studies.
There's nothing going on right now, but there will be in the future.
Yeah, and Ritmo does some really cool stuff. I've got to take part in some of their studies on live concerts and yeah. So Ilse, do we have some questions ready?
Yeah, we do. And I think I can ask the first one, which was asked by Nisa, which was in the beginning of your presentation. You mentioned something about trade empathy, which was not really clear what that actually means.
Mm. Yes, that's a great question. I kind of breezed over it because the idea was to give you more of a demographics background, but basically trait empathy. I'm going to pull up actually the questions that are asked on this. It's a standardized survey actually made in the 80s. And I will give me 1 second because I want to read some of the items on it to you. Okay, so here are the questions that they're given, which they're asked to report something along the lines. Oh, was there something said? Oh, sorry. Of how much they agree with this statement. So when I see someone being taken advantage of, I feel kind of protective towards them. When I see someone being treated unfairly, I sometimes don't feel very much pity for them. That's a backwards coded item. So people who would say that they very much agree with the ones that are empathic or feeling concerned for other people or feeling emotional with other people, those are people that would score highly on this empathic concern measure. And it's a personality measure trying to probe the state or the level of empathy you would regularly feel towards other people. There's research suggesting that people who score high in empathy are more likely to feel socially connected, especially with sad music. And so I do plan on eventually doing statistics to be able to understand how empathic concern influences the effect, for example, of the live concert on social connection. Like, does empathic concern actually mediate that effect? Do people who feel more empathy end up feeling more socially connected at these concerts?
Okay. Then we have two questions from Anna. Anna, I'll allow you to talk if you want to ask your question yourself.
Sure, I can ask the question. I wondered two things. Actually, somebody else also asked the same question. Did the genre of the music make any difference, or were there different genres?
That's an excellent question. There absolutely were different genres, and I'm still in the middle of analyzing the data. So I have not yet gone through the genre data because I personally do not have any hypotheses on how genre would affect the measures that I'm interested in of social connection at Kamamuta. But if you have a hypothesis that you want to share, like how do you think what was the first thing that popped into your mind when you knew that we measured genre? How do you think that would affect social connection in Kamamuta?
Well, only just from very personal kinds of things. I'm very involved in the folk music, traditional folk music community in Norway. And immediately on lockdown, particularly the people who play hardingfela, hardanger fiddle, started doing online concerts. And these are mostly single individual things because the instrument is usually played individually at, that's a traditional way of doing it. And I know like people who spent all week long watching concerts. And so there might be that kind of connectedness with a very specialized kind of music, perhaps. But hard to say.
We do ask, as you might remember from the plot that I showed, how important is the music of this performer to you?
Right.
So that's one thing that might probe that. In addition, because we collected information on if they were a musician and how long they'd been a musician, but we didn't ask things like which instrument do you play, what genre do you play. The survey was very long, and so we're lucky we even got 300 complete responses. So we had to draw the line somewhere, though I would have loved to ask these questions.
Yeah.
And
the other thing I was wondering was whether there probably always is, but what degree of selection bias do you think you had in the responses in terms of maybe people's responses being willing to answer to begin with was connected with the way they responded, the things that would draw them to be willing to answer a long and complicated survey might already have be partly explained in terms of their answers.
Yeah, that's a great question. And of course, yes, something that I think that it pertains to all survey research. But what I'm super happy about is how diverse the countries we got some data from are. Like, it's not all Eurocentric. It's not all North American centric. We have, and I mean, it's mostly Chile, which is super awesome. But I also think that it's a good point and something to be wary of, and definitely a limitation. And it would be interesting to actually do a real, as opposed to where this is a correlational approach, to actually host a virtual concert and try to manipulate different variables to different audiences. And so I am a collaborator on a few projects like that, where we have manipulated different aspects of virtual concerts and are trying to understand things that way, as opposed to this more hands-off approach. It's possible there's a selection bias in the recruitment, but we left the advertising focus as vague as people with interest in music. And everybody was also recruited on the knowing that they were going to be entered into a draw to win a gift card. And so ideally, we're not just getting, I mean, people are generally passionate about music when they're passionate about music. And I'm sure it's all people passionate about music, but I think that you don't need to have always experienced social connection and common muta to be passionate about music. That's probably, those are different things.
Thank you. A really interesting study.
Thank you for your awesome questions.
Yeah, thanks, Anna. Then there was another question from Kelly.
Hi, Mom. Okay, so Mom says, hi, Dana. Since COVID-19 is likely to continue and restrict large culture gatherings for some time, how would you recommend event organizers increase positive aspects of virtual concerts so as to increase audience participation? This is a fantastic question, Mom, and at the heart of everything that I want to know with this study. Unfortunately, I'm not through the data analysis enough to give a definitive answer. So what I'm about to say is all speculation and there's no real backing. But actually, there's a woman who did a master's thesis, I believe it was, on virtual concerts a few years ago. And she was looking at the elements that kept this community virtual concert engaged, I think was some of the words. She wasn't looking just at social connection, but a few other things. And I think that one of her findings was that having interaction in the virtual concert was important. And so I think that having an interactive element is really important. So chat functions, and if for anybody who watches Facebook Live concerts, you're always seeing, it'll suggest if your friends are watching at the same time, and you'll see the flow of comments as they were posted at the concert. And I know also, I've heard people say that in Twitch, there's like a really big community presence and a lot of activity in the chat rooms, whereas in YouTube, it's not always as much activity or something. So I think that choosing your platform based on who you're trying to target with your audience is important. And also for people like my mom, who's actually a city manager in Thunder Bay and helps to facilitate cultural events, it would be really cool if when they're hiring a developer to create the virtual concert spaces, if they were able to create a chat box and then assign or hire moderators who could be like it's an entry-level position, who would just moderate the chat and make sure there's nothing offensive being posted, then that allows and facilitates that interaction and connection.
All right, and then I think the last question is from T-Bout, who can unmute.
Actually, I have a bunch of questions. Because the kind of music I'm interesting. So just do you have like to compare with the virtual, like some data of the social connection, like real life? So then, okay.
No, so we don't have that, but we do have a question on, did you feel, or was this similar to a real concert? And people said no, generally.
Because then when it comes to buyer, because you use ad to recruit people, but I know from experience that, for example, the ad, we know that the young one are the one that respond the best to the ad on Facebook, on social media. It's reflect the audience on Facebook. So do your conclusion the connection actually just show that connection just for the young one? You can extrapolate that to the entire generation, even the olders or the youngest, even the one that can't answer your survey. How can you extrapolate your data to the other age categories?
Well, we did have some responses across all of those ages, as you saw. It wasn't as much in the older, but it was like a decreasing trend.
Yeah.
And we haven't yet looked at one thing I could try to do is to break up the results and subset it by different age groups and see were there differences across what people are reporting. But the thing is that so 300 people sounds like a lot, but because it's an internet study, it's much noisier than you'd expect in a real experimental, or I shouldn't say real experimental, but in an experimental study where you're able to recruit 40 people and bring them into a lab and make sure that everything is perfect. So if I were to subset people and like try and understand, I could probably do a median split, like look at the youngest half and the oldest half, where there are differences between these two groups. But I haven't done it yet, so I'm not sure what I would find.
Yeah, my thought was like, what about the bias of the algorithm for advertisements of the ads? Because how do you take that into account in your results? Or that because they know they optimize for better engagement with your post and so on. So how will you take that into consideration when you represent your results?
Well, I do plan on, and I think that it's pretty unique, like Matt said, perhaps, that to look at how the recruitment went and to be able to have that data to know. I believe Facebook does show which demographics it showed ads to. So I could go back in and find out which age and gender I believe that it shows it to, because they do report this, I think. So I could go back, and if I'm going to, I could find out and see whether the demographic we actually had sign up was the same distribution as the one that was like recruited on Facebook. But I don't know if you remember, we can just take a quick look again at, I'll pull up one slide for you. One sec. Here. So if you look at the results again, look at Norway, for example. Like these, the numbers with the reach and the clicks, they're not like, that's not just the only way that was recruited. We were also advertising through, I mean, our study was mentioned in the NRK news very briefly, and it was talked about at the university level as well. And I saw that it got posted in a few groups, and I was promoting it on my own page. And this is probably why I also have some responses from Canada, because I'm from Canada. And so, like, yes, the ads are definitely something that's influencing it, but we tried to do the best we could.
Yeah, I know.
Nice
I know.
But but I want to show you how in Norway, even though only 26 people actually clicked on the ads, 74 people participated. So those people were coming from places outside of the promotional ads. So that's pretty interesting. So it's not just exclusively that it's coming from the algorithms through Facebook. Like people could have been finding the survey elsewhere. We also presented at a few academic conferences when it was in the very young phases. We were trying to recruit there. But that's a great question. Absolutely.
Great. Well, thank you so much for participating. Thank you for the musical interlude. I really appreciate that. Okay. So yeah, thank you so much to our speakers. If you're interested in following Gabriella, she's at Migration of Emotion, and website is the same. Dana is at Dana Swarbrick. I am at MLD Sci Wizard, and there is at Pint of Science NO if you want to follow us for the rest of this week and beyond into next week. Thank you again to our sponsors, to everyone who participated, to Tybalt and Ilse for helping run this. And hopefully we will see you all tomorrow, again at 6 to 7:30 tomorrow and Wednesday. We will have another set of speakers. And Tybalt, is there anything else?
It was just to show you the program, to everybody. If you could just share. Okay, I will just share. So tomorrow we change completely subject. Actually, we're gonna move to. Why is you on the? Yeah, I see myself now. It's better. So now we just we go for anthropology, and we're gonna as well have another compatriot, a French one. So we speak about the lake and some life, the rock that on Earth can help us to decide, guess, analyze if life existed on Mars. And actually, I know that Manon is in the audience right now.
Oh, great.
So I just put the link in the chat. So if you want to have a deeper look on to sign up for tomorrow. Thanks.
Great. Well, thank you. We will be back tomorrow, and I hope you all had a really great time. Definitely get in contact with us if you have any questions, and we hope to see you tomorrow. Have a good night.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.